Brent, tell me what you like about a good mouthwash versus a bad mouthwash. I'm just
Mouthwash?
trying to set the levels, man. You're sitting over there like stoic.
That's why I'm here.
He says so much with so little.
I don't use mouthwash.
Really?
I don't.
But if you did, what color would you get?
What?
What color would you get, though? I mean,
Color?
you can get sort of
Color-
aqua blue or green.
Do you pick off flavor or do you pick off color?
I would pick off flavor.
I mean,
Why would you pick a color?
some people do.
Ooh, it's pink.
Welcome to Delusions of Automotive Grandeur. Yes, the name of this show has 29 letters in it, and is nearly impossible to say. What could go wrong? We would like to begin today's show with a shout out to listener John Peters of Crozet. On behalf of all of the staff and employees of DAG Show, we would like to sincerely apologize for Charlie saying your mother looks like a Pontiac Aztec. That was unprofessional and unbefitting of the dignity and seriousness with which we approach each one of our shows. Besides, she looks precisely like a Porsche Panamera. Don't feel special. I know for a fact that every single guy and girl listening to this is going to instantly and instinctively be jealous and get the steaming undies when I tell you about my first car, a white 1991 Texas edition Ford Tempo automatic with genuine Canadian vinyl interior. Yes, it actually had a tag saying genuine Canadian vinyl interior. Her name was Irene, and she was madly in love with me. As you know, as we all know, the late 80s and early 90s were clearly the high point of Ford build quality. Ford's sterling reputation at the time was evident in the fact that our brand new gray pinstripe beauty needed a new water pump before we even took it home. Yes, the water pump failed before the car was even sold. And no, the dealer couldn't get a replacement, of course, probably because they were failing all over the country. So what did Texan Ford in Houston, Texas do to get my family home? Well, they pulled a water pump off another new Tempo on the lot. That is service, free of charge, too. And the pinstriping, don't get me started on the pinstriping. A white four-door Tempo with gray interior and gray pinstriping, one could easily confuse it with a GT40. I know it, you know it. To a 15-year-old sitting behind the wheel of their first car, their parents would really trust them to drive alone. It was a GT40. Front-wheel drive, four-cylinder automatic, rear-wheel drive, side-oiler 427, and a top-loader. No difference. Did I mention the luggage rack? Has anyone else noticed that sedans don't have luggage racks anymore? Did any of us ever use them? What happened to the workers whose job it was to attach luggage racks to sedans? Who knows? Colin Chapman is famously thought to have said, simplify, then add lightness. In 1991, Ford was certainly a foot soldier in the Chapman School of Design ROTC. Ford literally forgot to install a right rear speaker in our 85 horsepower race car. My father swore for years that the stereo sounded off. Poor supervision on the assembly line? Nope. Colin Chapman, weight reduction. Remember when a Ford Tempo won Le Mans in 1988? That's because it didn't. There may have been one in the parking lot, though, probably with a broken water pump. I remember feeling jealous of my friend who had the sporty Tempo, a gleaming white two-door with a manual transmission, 3 pedals. He famously once did a U-turn while downshifting while eating a bean burrito from Taco Bell. Ayrton Senna, eat your heart out. His Tempo didn't have a lame luggage rack or 2 superfluous doors. Although I did take him in what had to be the lamest drag race in the history of cars. At least I like to remember that I beat him. Close your eyes for a second and picture this. 2 white 4-cylinder Ford Tempos roaring and clawing at the tarmac of my neighborhood as a combined 170 horsepower. Keep in mind that's across 2 cars. Attempted to best each other. My Fiesta ST has 17.6% more power than both of those cars combined, although it does have to lug around 6 speakers. Which brings us to the heart of this story. Ford is going to stop building and selling cars in the U.S. 115 years of continuous car production is coming to an end. We all know the sad truth that 99% of new vehicle buyers won't even notice. But what about us enthusiasts? Is there really anything to mourn here? Forget the 1965 to 1971 pre-emission control Mustangs. Forget the original GT350R. Forget the Falcon Sprint or the K-Code Hypo Comet. Forget the 1960s Cougar. Forget the 1960s Torino Fastback. God, I love 60s Torino Fastbacks. Forget the Boss 351. Yes, there was a Boss 351. Look it up. Forget the 80s SVO Mustang. Forget the Thunderbird Super Coupe. Forget the 2000 Mustang Cobra R. Forget the Ford GT. Forget the new Ford GT 350R. For most of the 100 years that humanity has been motoring from here to there, for most of the people driving for the past 100 years, a car is just a regular car, a commodity, a tool to get from here to there. 4 doors, pedestrian in a way. Ford Tempos with luggage racks and pinstripes. The kind of car that, for me personally, made me fall in love with driving. So, as Ford kills off the car, let's have a moment of silence to honor regular Ford cars. The Ford Pintos, the Ford Fairmonts, Ford Tempos, Conan O'Brien's Green Taurus, Ford Fiestas, Ford Focuses, Ford Contours, Ford Fusions, the Model T. What if Ford proves to be a trendsetter and the regular car goes away? I ask again, is there really anything to mourn here? Have you seen the Ford EcoSport, which will be replacing the Fiesta and Focus? I don't like it. It's devastatingly boring and hopeless looking. It's like a really ugly puppy at the SPCA that you worried won't get adopted. But that isn't a problem with SUVs and crossovers, is it? The whole reason cars are going away is because people want Ford Escapes. They want EcoSports. After all, won't crossovers like the new Ford EcoSport still transport the masses from A to B just fine? They have similar power, features, and storage room to a Focus sedan or hatch. Hell, their mileage is just about as good as a Focus. As much as I instinctively don't want to like them, maybe they have more in common with my Tempo than I first thought. Generic styling? Check. Crappy transmission? Check. Feckless everything? Check. Boring? Check. The real question is whether or not there is something inherent to these crossover eco-boxes which makes them less likely to be the spark that ignites a future enthusiast's passion than the hopelessly boring and generic sedans of yesteryear. That would be something to mourn. The real tragedy would be if the death of the car somehow contributes to a decline in the development of new enthusiasts. What do you think? As Charlie Brent and I begin our journey with this show, we don't know where it will lead. What will the format evolve into? Will it reach the status of decent within a year? Ever? Will we even make it a month? Will we just stop? Maybe Charlie and Brent will go on to do great things and I'll be replaced and forgotten like that guy that was on Top Gear the first season, or like Pete Best, or the poor luggage rack workers at Ford. I don't know. But what I do know is that we want you to know about us, to have an understanding of what makes us love cars, why we love working on them, why we love driving them, how we are like you and you can relate to us. So here goes nothing. My name is Steven, and I fell in love with driving cars because of Irene, a plain, regular, normal car, a Ford Tempo. Sometimes the best journalism, wow, I guess we're calling this journalism now, ends with a question. Something to make the listener ponder some important societal question to help the reading experience linger and stick with the audience for a time. Will there ever be peace in the Middle East? Are we alone in the universe? What is the meaning of life? Fitting to the name of this show, Delusions of Automotive Grandeur, I will now attempt to pose you, the listener, a profound and life-enriching question to take with you as you take off your headphones and go on to live your lives. Maybe the luggage rack added downforce.
I have no idea on names, but I mean, even the guy with the Ford Mustang, had the Fiesta. I have no idea what his name is. I just know.
I was bad for a while.
I just know.
I called him
as,
Keith for a long time, and he thinks it's funny. We can leave that in.
Here's the thing: after you were over talking to whoever,
Yeah.
we were talking by his car. And he's like, "What's his name again?" He's like, "I keep wanting to say Keith because he kept calling me Keith."
No, you
so
should
many
call me
times.
Keith. Nathan/Keith, if you're listening to this, call me whatever you want, dude.
Like,
Oh,
his name's Steven.
No, that's the thing. I mean, and just to make him feel better, whatever his name is, Nathan Keith, is that there was the guy that remember the guy that had the white WRX metallic white, and he had the dog. I can't think of his name. Maybe Tim or something. And for the longest time, and I told him about this too. Like I knew the story of him getting his car in Florida. I knew his dog. I knew about his life, but for the life of me, I didn't know his name.
Was his dog the Australian Shepherd?
I could have sworn it was like a husky shit. I can't remember his dog. Well, anyway, but the point is that all of us tend to know each other, and that's why I'm not offended that Nathan/Keith didn't know my name. Besides the fact I didn't know his name for a long time, is that we know the people's car stories and the parts they've done and whatever. But it's just if you think about it, names don't come up that much, and
Blue Fiesta ST,
yes,
black BRZ, silver
black.
GTI.
I always think it was black too, but it's not black.
It's black with metal flake. We'll call it that.
So besides the fact that we don't remember each other's names,
True.
and we don't know each other's names, but we know each other's car stories, which is not really what we're recording about right now. But what we're recording about now is that we have this sort of informal thing that we did before we ever had this show with our millions of listeners. That we would talk about which car we would take home from Shotsville Cars and Coffee, each week that other than our own, because we're kind of stuck with our own, and we'd pick them out every week and just sort of talk about it and just hang out. But this week since we're kind of starting from scratch, hopefully if we remember to, we'll do this as a recurring segment. We're just going to kind of pick one for all time, and then sort of then we'll do weekly later. But anyway, so yeah, Brent, go ahead.
I don't remember all time, so I'm going off of today.
Okay.
And I'd have to go after the Nissan Gloria.
Who owns that?
Nathan.
I thought it was.
Or no, sorry. You got me. Jesus Christ. His name is Andrew. I just it's different.
No,
I
love
know,
it too.
if you see it rolling down the road, you're just like, okay. Late, 90s or early 90s Nissan 4-door big sedan. Okay.
That's the
Wait a
Z
second.
engine, I think.
That guy's riding on the right side.
Yeah.
There's nobody on the left side. What the hell is going on here?
Yeah, it's subtle enough that it definitely you can blink and miss it in traffic, but it's when you start looking at some of those details, it's definitely like a head turner. Where you're like,
oh, his story's the best, dude.
Oh yeah,
you bought a one-way plane ticket to go get it. Did you guys know that?
I did. I actually was kind of responsible for him.
I didn't know that. Okay.
We had talked. I think we actually had talked during a Cars and Coffee about what he was looking for.
Yeah, I know. We were all talking about it, and he was looking at him out at Richmond or whatnot.
Yeah, because he was talking about going to
Japanese Classic.
Thank
Japanese,
you.
Yep.
I know that name.
Yeah, and I think we had talked about it, and I just remembered that he specifically was like, "Yeah, I'm ready to I'm almost ready to buy."
Yeah.
And I think maybe that weekend, maybe that Sunday or Monday morning, somebody on one of the car groups I've been a part of for some number of years, Opposite Lock, from Jalopnik, Kinja, whatever, that had someone had posted it in the Facebook group and was like, oh wow, and basically was talking about how they've never heard of this car, it's a cool car, and someone should buy this. And it's one of the, any car club does hey, anyone looking to buy one of these,
this is a good one.
Yeah, this is a cool one.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be somehow thought immediately of that conversation, which is I'm really good at spending other people's money. It's great. I just happened to remember that Andrew had talked about this and sent him the link and was like, hey, so someone found one for you, and kind of joking, had no idea that he was that ready to pull the trigger, which, kudos to him, because it's an awesome
It's a
story.
solid car, man.
Oh,
That
it's
thing is
so
super
good.
nice, yeah.
And
Plus price wise,
yeah, the price was right, and
It's a Gloria Gran Turismo, right? That's the full
I
name.
believe
I
so.
remember seeing Gran Turismo on the back.
Yeah. And I mean, he took it over to Daniel at Automotive Aesthetic, and they polished it up and shined it up, and it's gorgeous.
And for people listening, as I recall, that engine, I think he told me that it's the same as the 300Z V6 twin turbo, but it's just slightly detuned or something. It was a very expensive car, new, right? It was super expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those it's the.
it'd be like a VIP,
Yeah.
Presidential car, or something on that order.
The Luxo barges, as it were.
Well, I'm just gonna get me out of the way because it's not hard. Go ahead, say it. You guys know it. Come on. You can guess. It's not hard.
Well, I mean, you got the red Mustang convertible, but you also had that
This is
blue.
all time. This is all time.
Oh,
All
I don't
time.
know. Well, other than Bob's,
Hint is Bob.
other than Bob's 350 GT.
Ding 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 ding.
That's a
Okay,
good-
we can
that's a
move
good
on.
one.
All right, go ahead, Charlie.
I mean, you know,
that was not hard.
if you want to talk about it more, you're welcome.
No, I'll just say that Bob is my hero. He has a background in pharmacy, which is cool, which
Adopt
I do
me,
as well.
Bob.
And then I'm a doctor of pharmacy. Not really.
No, you're a doctor of finances.
I'm.
Finance
They call me
doctor.
Doctor Love. No, but thank you, Kiss fans. No, but I mean, Bob just has killer choices in cars. I mean, like his taste is amazing. Like I mean, the '66 GT350 is. I mean, there's not much explanation required there. I mean, it's when Shelby Mustang was a stripped out race car. I mean, it's a proper. I mean, they won SCCA championships. I mean, they're legit, fantastic vehicles, and they're legendary for a reason. But and that's my choice, for this. But honestly, his other daily driver is most of you know that if we do have listeners that, which we probably don't, but if you are a listener and you've been to the Charlottesville Cars and Coffee, his daily driver is a special order 4 Series 2-door BMW, maybe 2014ish, I don't know.
Sounds about right.
And he had to special order it to get a manual. So the only option it has is a manual transmission and like the M appearance package, and it's a silver 2-door. And but honestly, those are probably two of the cars I was trying to choose between for this, but it just shows that I'm a Bob fan. I'm part of the Bob fan club.
That's good.
But and he let me sit, or I shouldn't say this, but he let me sit in the Shelby and push the clutch once,
Nice.
so I can compare it to the horrible clutch in my car. All right, it's Charlie. It's on you.
All right. Mine would I have a few options, and I'm torn because it's like
Got to pick one.
I know I got to pick one. For the time being, I'm thinking that black. Is it a 930 that we have show up?
Are you talking about
The ultra
Porsche codes again?
Yeah, I mean, sorry again. Back with Porsche code. The super wide black Porsche.
Okay.
It's
Turbo 80s.
I think it's the 80s turbo.
Okay.
I think lovingly referred to as the Widowmaker.
Oh yes, snap oversteer.
Yeah. I mean, Porsche problems.
Yes.
But that thing, it just looks so like the front end on it looks nice. It's so narrow, and then the rear, like clearly they were still doing frame geometry, like numbers, trying to like make it grip as much as it can with it, and it just comes out with looking so wide. I mean, like basically. And I know it's been like serviced by Overstreet and like as almost every other old Porsche in town has been, but just go to his shop and basically raid any of those cars that have come through Cars and Coffee would be up for grabs, in my opinion.
So if we remember to do this may become a recurring segment, and we might talk. You never know. We might pick your car, and if we do, it's pretty cool because you actually win absolutely nothing if we pick your car.
Woo-hoo.
So you get a whole lot of nothing.
Well, maybe we could do, stickers.
No,
Nah.
that's
At
way
one
too
point.
complicated.
At one point.
We do not treat our fans well.
Okay.
We don't have any yet.
Or
It'll be
or
dag gold.
Send in your address, and maybe you'll get a brown paper bag on your front porch.
It
But
won't be on fire.
Clarkson used to
On
do that on
fire.
Top Gear. He would like give like the main BBC address and just have to like, if you don't like the color brown, please send a letter to this address. Like, anyway. All right. Well, thanks for listening. And
I'm not putting my address in there.
Mhm.
1600 Pennsylvania.